Hey everyone, it's Jane Hamill, and today's episode is an interview. Yay! I have such a great guest. I've known her for years. You are going to love her. If you don't know her already, where you been? This is Nicole Giordano from Startup Fashion.
Hi. Hi,
I'm
Jane.
so excited. The octave of my voice just went up like 17 things. Okay, much to discuss. Nicole's made some very interesting changes with her company called Startup Fashion. I want to hear all about it. I want to get the finger on the pulse for all of the amazing startup fashion designers out there on the planet. And so let's just dive in. Tell us, who are you and what do you do?
Sure. So I'm Nicole Giordano, and I'm the founder of Startup Fashion. And we are a platform that supports independent fashion brand owners as they work to launch and grow their businesses.
Boom. Hope. Okay, my microphone's going to be my microphone. So I guess it's ignore it and we will keep rolling. All right, so it's a platform. So recently, the reason I reached out was recently I saw you had a post on Instagram that was basically like, I've been thinking a lot about my business. I was even thinking of closing it. And I decided to sort of reinvent. So when you say it's a platform, tell us about the new, like the 2.0 or at this point, I don't know, 5.0 version of Startup Fashion. What is it and what do you do exactly?
Yeah, so we're still doing the same thing in terms of serving this audience of independent brands who are trying to launch and grow specifically fashion product-based businesses. But what I realized is that for a very long time, we had been a platform that was a place full of discussion and storytelling and experience sharing like every single day. And something had shifted in the group. We have hundreds of members still, but in the last year or so, something changed. It felt like it was getting quieter. I don't know if that word even is the
Mm.
right word, but it just felt like our members were kind of quietly going about their businesses and working on launching or growing the thing they've already launched. And then they would come to me when they have a question or needed feedback. And I'm happy to do that. And I'm here to support. And even on the new platform, that's what I do. But I realized that I missed the group dynamic. And so this shift to something else, which I can get into more and share more about, was this answer to this feeling of like wanting to bring back the energy and the excitement that it brought to the work I do. So I needed something new. Like I think, I mean, Jane, I've been running the same business for 15 years, right? Like 15,
I get it. Yeah. Hell yeah.
So it's the kind of thing where it's like, especially when it's just you or you have a very small team who's all virtual. For me, it was like I needed the community, the discussion, the dialogue. I needed all of that back. And when I realized that it had kind of diminished on the way we were doing it, which was, we have a membership site where people can log in and access all the tools and information, but all the conversation would go on a separate thing in a Facebook group. And then, the people who got more one-on-one support were on a Voxer channel. It was like all over the
Mm,
place, right? And I
right.
think it was starting to impact things. And I was influenced by a side project that I was doing where I was writing on a platform called Substack. This side project had nothing to do with startup fashion. It's about being in my 40s and like life in the middle stage, right? And
Yeah.
all of this change. And I thought, I actually really like this platform. What if instead of shutting down startup fashion because it was changing in a way that wasn't bringing me as much joy and excitement, what if I shifted what we offer onto this platform called Substack, where this kind of energy could maybe come back. So
So for someone who has no idea what Substack is, how would you describe it?
yeah,
Oh
so,
no, I
so
know what it is, but like there's gonna be
right.
people who don't. Yeah.
Yeah, so excuse me, I'm sorry to have coughed. Yes, so I learned about it. I didn't know a lot about it, but it was started many years ago. I could be a decade ago, specifically for writers. And it was a place where you could literally set up a what looks like a blog easily and just start writing. But there is a network built in with Substack. So when you download the app as someone who likes Substack, you get served I don't want to say served because it's not ads. You'll follow somebody's Substack and they'll say, oh, you might also like this person Substack, or you might also like this person's Substack. Remember blogs in like 2009 where there was the blog roll on the side and it would be like all the stuff that,
So
right?
great.
It's like that.
And you'd
And
blog
it's
and there'd be 23 comments and you'd get in there and chat
exactly.
with people. It was so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so fun. And you would be like introduced to other blogs, like, oh, I love this style blog, so I'll probably also love this style blog, like all of that kind of stuff. It has a very much a feel of that, but with way like lots of capabilities, video, audio, all kinds of things. And so it started for writers. And then over the last maybe year to year and a half, I've been watching brands, influencers, content creators of all types start to set up space here and build community here because there's a community there waiting to get to know you. So that's what it is. And I encourage anybody who hasn't checked it out to spend a little time because I'm sure there's going to be a Substack channel, or I don't even know if it's called channel, Substack page,
Yeah.
um, for something that you love.
And I think of it as someone for people who have a newsletter. So am I
Yeah.
wrong about that? Is it mostly where you, because I'm a member of a few Substacks and I pay for a couple of them.
Mhm.
But I don't always go into the app. I more just get it in the email.
Ah, interesting. Yes.
So
So
I mean, I'm
it
a
does
little
work
lazy
that way.
maybe that way.
Yeah. So it is the way we did it is we moved our email subscribers over to Substack. So we have our free Substack, which is every time we put up a fresh piece of free content, if you're subscribed for free, you get a notification if you have the app or in your email or both, whatever you get to set that up how you would like to get those notifications. And so you are constantly able to, you know, find out what the latest information is. Now we have free subscribers and then we have our paid tier. And so there's different things, but what's beautiful about the platform is it really has become a hub and, you know, you can start threads, discussion threads, and you can just make this like this place of support for any of your subscribers, whether free or paid, where they can just go and get the information that they need. It feels very like easy. And that's
Hmm.
like something I've been really craving in business and in life, just more ease, more simplification.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise from when you and I started our businesses
Yes.
dealing with the same topics. A lot of different, I mean, whoa. So what was, so okay, so there's a free and a paid. And how often do they get like a free article or a free piece of content like that?
So we have it set up where every Friday they still get our weekly love notes, our musings that have been like me writing, which I've been doing for years.
Is it fashion
Everybody gets
designer
those.
musing?
What's that?
Fashion designer musings?
Yes, they
Yes,
still
they're
go out
great.
every week. Thank
Yeah,
you
they're
to
great.
everybody. So that's weekly to everybody. And then our free subscribers also get one like in-depth how to post per month in addition to the
Okay.
four musings.
Okay.
Paid have much more than that. So
And so do you still have a, like if somebody, so give us some of your like most popular topics for someone who's not really familiar with what you do. So what are some of the blog posts that, or the articles that people just eat up that you talk about a lot?
yeah, I would say most of them have to do with the most I would bet we probably have very similar answers to this because they have to do with the most like, you know, figuring out your costing, understanding like how like what are the steps in actually launching a business, what to write in your emails, like very like, you know, very specific but fundamental information about either launching or running a business are always the ones that, in addition, like those go really well. And then I get lots of responses to the musings because they tap into the emotion and what it's like on the
And
mindset
I
that,
mean, you're a real writer, like you
oh, thank you.
write.
Thank you.
I think I talk a little better than I can type, so not my best platform writing. But I love you. You sent one like you have a very in-depth one recently of like what are all the steps to starting a clothing line. It's
Right.
really good. It's free. I mean, you guys, we're gonna find out where
Thank
they
you.
find you, and so they need to like follow. They don't need to. I would really suggest it, or I wouldn't have you on the show. So okay, so do you still have like if someone's like, okay, I'm starting a clothing line and I'm interested in a community and other designers and Nicole as the leader of this group, what's different, what do they get from being part of the paid Substack? Like what's up in there? Is
Yeah.
the content and the tools, are they now all on Substack, or do you still have the membership site too?
So it's interesting because we're in a transition. I only moved to Substack 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So at the time of this recording.
I
So Jane,
jumped
I'm
right
still
on this
figuring a
because
lot of stuff out.
I love this idea. Yeah.
So here's how we're running it. We do have our membership group still in. We have many members, hundreds of members in our membership group. We took a very small bit of what is in our main membership group, the one we've had forever, and we put that behind a paywall on Substack
Okay.
for a lower price. So people can upgrade from free to paid on Substack to get a taste of what it means to learn from us, get my support more and that kind of thing. My plan, and I'll just be completely blunt, here's what my plan is. My plan is to spend some time with it like this, really see how Substack works for us. Is this the right move for us? Then slowly start bringing over all of the membership content to the Substack, and then the price of the Substack will go up. That's why I keep
Mm.
telling people, like, if you're thinking about join the Substack now, because you'll stay there, but we're going to be adding stuff. I would say over the next probably 6 months, assuming everything goes well, we'll be making
Mhm.
that shift. So
Okay.
that's the behind the scenes, how it's actually happening.
Well, it's interesting because fashion designers are not known for being like early adopters or really
Right.
interested in new tech. Not that many of them. So what's the response been from the average, like, I barely got myself on Facebook kind of person? Like, are they
Well,
like,
I
oh
don't
no, not one more app, or it's like fine? Like what are you hearing?
I have not heard, oh no, not one more app, especially
Oh,
because you don't
good.
have to add the app. You can just get things in your email and then go to
Yeah.
the desktop or just open it up in your browser on your phone. You don't have to have the app. I just love the app. But um the reaction has been great. We have had people start to join the paid Substack, which has been awesome. And what we've seen from a numbers perspective is our percentage, our open rate on our emails, like the blog post has doubled from when we were
Nice.
doing it on our own blog and then emailing it through our email platform. So I don't know if that has something to do with the fact that, like, Google knows subs because it comes from startup fashion at Substack or whatever. So Google knows that or
Mhm.
something and it's not putting stuff in spam. I'm not sure why, but people are opening them and reading them more than they ever have. And that was really awesome to see. I'm still getting, messages after my musing. So not a lot has changed. I think because you don't have to download an app. If you don't do anything at all, you're simply now getting emails from us that say Nicole at Startup Fashion, and it says like at Substack or something. Nothing really has changed but that line in the email.
Okay.
But
Got it.
yeah, but I do recommend, if you're listening to this and feel like, oh, this is interesting, whether for Startup Fashion or not, I think the app is so good and it's so easy. And you get to
What do
learn
you
so
like
much so
about it?
easily.
Because they show you other things that because I have it, I just don't use it that much. What do you like about
Yeah.
it? Why
I
would you recommend it?
So I love it because I first of all, I'm subscribed. I have an edited list of like the subscription. I
Mhm.
have maybe 10 different Substacks that I read so that I don't get overwhelmed. And I love being notified when there's a new one that came in. And then what I tend to do is, like, I can open up my Substack. I'm like, oh, I'm going to just spend the next hour reading and absorbing and learning.
Mhm.
I'm going to open up the Substack app and then I can just go from, like, oh, the new one for Substack number one that I follow, read that. Oop, click this button, for Substack number two, their new one. Like, it's all right there for me. And I
Mhm.
just take it all in. I just find it really organized. And I love an organized moment. I love a spreadsheet. I love a tidiness. So that's just what I love about it.
And there's no ads, correct?
No, no ads.
Yes. Because I mean, my God, it's impossible to even watch a YouTube video. Like,
I know.
the ads are constant, but also with people they've backed up now, but they've gone crazy with the like beeping and dinging and popping and woot, 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 and they're like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just like to hear someone speak. I can keep my attention and without like things popping up and so
Yeah. Did you
you
hear that Instagram is going to start experimenting with the ads you can't scroll past, like the ones on YouTube where you can't click out of them?
did not hear that.
Yeah, I just heard it this morning when I was listening to my news. I listened to my news via a podcast, and I was like, "Oh, great!"
It's going to be
Jesus.
very interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, so one thing I didn't mention that I would ask, but I'm going to just ask you is so for because you've been blogging for a long time and you have done
yeah.
a great job with SEO and your
Thank you.
domain authority is high and you have good keywords. And what about that? Are you just not going to touch the blog for a while? That's so last month. What
No,
what do you think is happening
no.
with you? And then also then well, I just want to know about what do you think about search in general? So let's start with
Yeah.
what are you gonna
So,
what are you gonna do with the blog?
so right now the blog is still up, and when I sometimes I pull some old content from it and update it because I have content for that goes back many years. So
Yeah.
I'll pull something and update it and take it off of the main blog and put it on Substack, and it's all new and fresh and updated. Right now, I'm just doing that. I'm not adding anything to the blog. That may change. I have been, looking into the idea of like certain kind of content might go onto the blog. I don't have a lot of answers for you yet on this because it is so new for me. So I'm kind of like working through it. I will say my partner in life, he's an SEO person, right? And
Mm,
so it's been helpful to be able to talk with him, like talk through this with him, because ultimately SEO is on the verge of completely changing anyway. So it's
mhm.
like not on the
Yeah.
verge, it's already started with AI. So it's the kind of thing where like I don't know how much I feel like I need to keep the main blog going. I don't really have answers on that yet. So
Okay.
time will tell.
And how do people find out about your Substack now? What do you do for, I don't know, subscriber acquisition or whatever?
Yeah. So two things. One, Substack, the platform itself, will recommend your Substack to people who
Yeah.
are following other Substacks that are similar. So we get acquisition that way.
Okay.
Also, and this is like, I love this. Every time you have a new post go live on Substack, Substack sends you into your email images that they automatically create with the title and like the background, and you just download it and they give you the link to your Substack. Jane, you have no idea. So it comes and then I go, okay, I'm gonna update. I just put this to Instagram stories, the link to the Substack, and I like read it here. And we're getting a lot of people from Instagram because it's so easy. It takes seconds. Like I don't have
When
to
people are
create
like,
anything.
when you hear people saying AI is going to take my job, well, they did kind of take that virtual assistant's job there. You're like, yes.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay,
Hmm.
so whatever is the generated graphics, like you use them. They're
Oh, I
good.
use them. Absolutely. They look good. They take
Oh
the
my God, I love it.
whatever image you have in your blog post, whatever your header image, they take that, crop it down to be either square or long for stories. They put your title nice and bold on the top, and then they put a little subtext, and then they
So
give you the
good.
link. They're like, here's the
So
link to
good.
copy. Yeah, it's
Oh,
pretty,
like, as crazy as things get, things also just get like better and
yeah,
easier too.
streamlined. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so then okay, do not hold Nicole to these prices. If she gives you how much it costs today and you come back and you say, well, you said on the podcast, no, that's not what's going to happen. If they're early birds and they want to hop over and join, so there's free and then there's paid, and then is there super membership level or what you got? What are you offering right now?
Super, there's nothing super membership level yet.
A whole
But yeah, so
enchilada,
there's
as we like to
free.
call it.
And then there's monthly, which right now is $24 a month. And that is
Deal.
you get a lot of lessons and workbooks and everything. And as I said, over time, we will be bringing over more content from the membership when we feel ready and moving our members over. And then the price will go up to reflect all of the stuff that's going to be added. So right now, though, there's 30 video lessons with workbooks and stuff already in there for $24 a month. So it's a pretty sweet deal as we work through exactly what Substack's going to look like for us.
And I think I loved how honest you've always just been super honest, which is not that it's not that easy to find someone as honest as you in your writing and what your social and what you do. And I love how you're like, look, I just needed to reinvent this. this thing here. I think we can all relate to needing or wanting to pivot or just do things in a different way without just burning everything down and starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that there's 30 video lessons, that's a lot. That's robust, but it's also might be a beautiful thing for anyone who wants to start a fashion business, or they have one that's fairly, I don't know, not even fairly new. Nicole knows her stuff. You know, it's not that overwhelming. It's kind of nice that you can like not just put everything in there. You can take it phase
Yeah.
by phase.
Yeah, and it's very straightforward. It's like he everything is very clear. Like if this is what you're working on, I mean, it's organized by stages, like 4 stages. And if you're in the production stage, here are, I don't know, 10, 12 different lessons about production stuff. And and I try to keep them short, they're 15 minutes, 18 minutes. So it's just like watch it, implement it, like start doing what you're learning.
Yeah.
So I try to avoid the overwhelm because there is a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn in this business, but it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. So I try to do that.
And what are the 4 stages? How do you break it down? Production is
I
one.
break it down. Yeah, I break it down by mindset. So I always start with nothing I teach doesn't start with mindset lessons. So mindset, planning, production, then pre-launch marketing. So that's where we focus. So we get you to the point of launch. We have content in our main membership for the initial stages after you launch for marketing, but those
Okay.
have not been moved over yet to Substack.
And when it comes to, I feel like, I mean, you and I probably have both been preaching for 14 years. Please start building your audience before your product is ready.
Yeah.
I have found people are much more amenable to that idea now than they ever were. Are you getting that too, or no?
I am. I think I am. I think that they're more like, yeah, I need to do this and I'm going to do this. I think though, it's probably controversial to say, and I don't mean basically, I still don't think that the majority of the independent business owners that I am seeing, when it comes to that pre-launch marketing, are really like putting the personal touch on it, or really like I see a lot of like posting still images on Instagram, or making a reel or whatever, but like I don't see the like joining groups, giving talks, having like the energy stuff, the stuff that like I want them to understand that deeply connecting or connecting really strongly with 15 people in your local community because you participated or did some kind of event can be so much more powerful for your business as pre-launch or launch, whatever, than reaching 1,000 people with that you never talk to with like one of these cutesy reels. So while I do see a lot of people like, yes, pre-launch marketing, I get it. I need to do it and build a community. When it comes to the stuff that you have to do to actually build a community, I still see a lot of fear there and a lot of like I don't really know if I can do this and that kind of thing. And that's the part that I've been trying to like. So I feel like I'm no longer trying to convince people that it's necessary to do it, like to build the community pre-launch, but I feel like I'm still screaming like from the rooftops with a still image on Instagram 3 times a week is not going to do it, right?
Oh,
That
girl.
kind of thing. So,
Yeah. One of my most popular episodes is old school marketing, like how to do marketing in your local area,
mm,
which
hmm
maybe it just needs to be phrased something like that, like not that scary. It's like grandpa joining the Lions Club. It's like,
right.
but they don't know, people don't want to put themselves out there. They're like, I'm not the face of the brand. I just want to be back here, like working on the patterns. And yeah.
I think that's problematic, honestly, but
Why is it problematic?
because I think that the biggest thing that independent brands have going for them is that they are a face behind a brand. They are this person, right? And I'm not saying you have to share everything about your life. You set your boundaries 100%, but like you talk about, how do you stand out? Like, why would somebody buy my stuff? And like, there's all of these other brands out there and it's a crowded marketplace and it's so difficult and blah, blah, blah. But a big part of that is your willingness to be a face of the brand, to be out there more. And, I'm sure that there are brands who manage to make it work without doing that. I just don't see it often. And I think
No.
that when you're talking about situations, which is the truth for a lot of independent brands, where your resources are, if you don't have a lot of time, you don't have a lot of money, like you got to tap into one of those. And then if you are like, okay, well, I can't hire somebody to like help me with my marketing, well, then I mean, Jane, you said you've always been honest. You're just like, this is what gets you. I built a business just talking and like, like writing
Yeah.
and like putting myself out there. And so I think, um, yeah, I think there's still a lot of fear around it. And I think that if the if we could break through that a little, it'd
This
be
is
helpful.
interesting because I spend a lot of time on what is the messaging, because they're like, I just have few clothes. Like there's no big thing behind it, right? Which I didn't have a big cause or anything behind my brand when I started. I just thought like I was a brilliant designer and I could do better than what I could buy out there. And let me just, it's all about me. Like I get it, right?
Mhm.
And I also, when I had a retail store, they're like, you should probably say that this is a local designer. You might want to have like a sewing machine in here or something, or let people know you're the designer. And I was like, no, ooh, like, right? Like, so I was this person,
Right.
totally. Like, no, I don't want, they're going to think it's small time, like, I didn't get it at all. And how valuable that is to be able to use yourself as like, yeah, it's just me. And I sew these. And I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that people think still that marketing is Instagram.
Right.
Like that's it. Grow your
Right.
Instagram and then
Marketing
you'll
is
have yeah, you'll have all your
right.
customers you ever need. Yeah, that's
Right.
it doesn't work like that. So in addition to Instagram, if there's one or two things that someone could do to get some awareness of their brand, to get some people to be like, oh, I've heard of that. I'm interested in that. When is she launching? What would they do? What would be some like maybe one or two specific ways to get some eyeballs on your startup?
Yeah, I mean, I specific ways. Okay, so I really am a big fan of showing up like physically at things. So I think that not being afraid to either find something going on in your local community that is already organized, and it does, I'm not talking about like, oh, a pop-up shop. Like there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like, what are the things that, you know, what kind of other interests, what are the things that make up the people who buy from you or who you want to buy from you, and like, can you go and attend these things and be a part of them in some way, like even if it's like 15 women getting together and they're talking about knitting. I'm
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
putting you
yeah.
on the spot a little bit, you know what I mean?
No,
And
I
like,
totally put you on
you
the spot.
know,
But no, this is it. Because I
right.
used to play tennis on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. because I had a retail store. And who plays Monday morning 9 a.m. tennis? Kind of rich
Mm,
ladies,
yeah.
you know, or people who have nannies or whatever. And so
Right.
I would just play tennis. And each semester, whatever of the tennis, I would meet a whole new crop of 14 women. And in that group, there are always two or three who'd be like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I have this store. And they'd be like, oh my God, I need something. So
Thank you.
that's it. You get yourself
Yes.
in the room with the ideal customer, you're gonna make
Yes.
friends and they're gonna want to know what you do.
Right.
And I don't mean like
So,
lifelong friends, but like friendly enough to, you
yeah.
know,
Right. So that's what I mean by that. Like, nobody's saying don't use Instagram or don't like, but
yeah.
start thinking about like, what can you do where you are showing up and you are meeting people, and don't think about um oh, well, it's not enough people, I can't reach that many people. I mean, this
Yes.
example that you gave, Jane, is so
Yeah.
beautiful and perfect. Like, there are at least two people who say, what do you do? And if one of those two people is like, oh, well, I'm going to come check out your shop, boom, like it was the best tennis hour you've had, right?
Way higher chance of getting a sale from that than posting.
Exactly.
One of my former clients, we used to have an assignment for private clients, which was they had to choose things to go to where their ideal client would be, where they actually thought it would be interesting. So one woman in San Francisco, she went to volunteer for, I can't remember the organization, but it was like a women's organization. And it was like a day of like, I don't know, helping or something. And so the point was you have to go to events that you are actually interested in where you think it's possible that the other people might be there. But no matter what, You're going to love it. So she goes and she volunteers, and sure enough, she meets someone who ended up buying 3 pieces in the next couple weeks. Right. So like that shit
Yeah.
works. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh,
And
wonderful.
what you just said is you said something really important that can be translated to virtual marketing too, which is the idea that you're doing things that you have interest in also, right? So a lot of times when my people are like, I don't know what to blog about, I don't know what to write about, I don't know what to put on Instagram. I'm like, well, what the hell do you care about? What is like, start talking about those things because there's probably a lot of crossover with this ideal customer of yours. And so don't like you're going to keep doing it, you're going to keep at it, and you're going to be really good at it if it's stuff that you care about, whether you're writing, whether you're recording a video, whether you're doing a podcast, whatever it is. You have to care first, and it's something separate from your what you're making, your business, but it is connected to finding that ideal person, right? And I think that
Mm,
what you just said, where you're like your assignment was they had to go somewhere where they were interested, regardless of whether they actually wound up meeting
yeah.
potential, because then it just changes the dynamic, and you're comfortable, and you're just it. I don't know. I just wanted
And
to
you
point
have
that
something
out.
to talk about. Like it's
Exactly.
easy to talk about the cause. And then if you connect with someone, it usually gets around to, so where do you live? Do you live around here? And eventually,
Exactly.
this is how
Yep.
shit happens.
Exactly.
Okay, so tell me this. This is a big question, but I did send this one early. So it's not blind like the last ones. You did great, by the way. What would you say are some things that have changed about the fashion industry
Mhm.
in the last couple of years? Like what did you used to see happening that you don't? I guess I don't really care what used to happen. What's happening now that's different that people should know about, I guess, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've touched on a few of them already, actually. I've seen this greater shift towards like a calmness, like a simplification on how
Mhm.
they're running from production to marketing, like how they're going about doing this. I think that is something I'm seeing a lot more of. I think we already talked about
Wait, what do you
SEO.
mean simplification in which sense?
I think I mean it like kind of like if we had to say, okay, well, what do we do about this? It's like taking a look at your business, auditing your business and how you're running it. And, how much product are you producing? How often are you producing it? Are you using every marketing channel under the sun? How do you feel about those? Are you clear on your
Mm,
brand and your mission? Do you still feel good about your brand voice? Like, are you overcomplicating anything? Like, just kind of like trying to, I can't think of a word better than calm for it. I think it's like the anti-hustle culture. Like, I don't know
mm,
what it is, but just
yeah.
this feeling of like, it's so easy to go into a new business or and feel like you're like this all of the time. And I
Yeah.
think I don't know if it's a result of the pandemic, of switching, like priority shifting, whatever it is. I'm watching people like feel okay that they have a quote unquote day job and they're taking their time with the fashion brand that they're launching, and like okay, I'm going to do this, and okay, and not just time like, oh, it takes longer, but just a calmness. I don't know if this is translating the way
No,
I
you know what? You have always said, do it. I can't recall your words, but
do it
like
your way on your own terms.
on your own terms. And
Hmm.
it's almost like they've finally been like, I'm going to do it on my own terms.
Yeah. A little birdie just like something just came to me once. It was like,
It's
should
like they're
like
like, yeah, that's good for you, but I got to do it this way because that's how I learned it in school. That's what my Aunt Janie
right.
says. Now they're like, yeah, I'm opted out of that whole like section. And they're,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good, right?
And I think, I mean, it was similar to like when I moved to Substack. It was like I let out a big breath I'd been holding, like so much like tension and running the business, and like, we're on Voxer and Facebook and the platforms and all of this stuff, and everything just felt like a lot, and all of the automations, and I'm not and automations are wonderful. I'm not saying those are not good things, but just like there was just so much. And when I made this shift, everything felt a little bit calmer. And I don't know, I'm
Yes.
seeing more of that. Yeah.
Well, you're only dealing with one freaking platform.
Yeah.
Ultimately, let's hope that's what happens.
Hope,
But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so then SEO, we talked about lots of changes going on there. So I feel like that really changes the discussion around some types of marketing. And then I think the other thing that seems to be, which is we haven't talked about, but is more like probably won't remain this way, is just for a while now, and we don't know how much moving forward, how much longer, retail spend has been down. So just like what that means about expectations on, if you're a new brand, how long do you hit profitability? If you're an established brand, like if you're seeing fluctuations, like understanding that this is something happening in the industry, and just it's not specific to you, but needing to make adjustments or not or whatever. But I would say those are some things that are kind of standing out to me.
Have you seen any of your members respond to, okay, people, so yeah, I don't know about retail spending down. I don't know to say like, no, I don't think it is, or yes, I agree. I don't know. I'm just gonna, let's assume. So have you seen anyone react to that in a way that's like, that's a good idea? We could all maybe learn from that person. Like taking action to sort of adjust and simplify the business?
I would say what I have seen is not so much like that's a good idea, I should do that. I'm not sure people fully realize it. From what my research has shown me, just that things like travel are up, and they think this is like, quote unquote post pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
People are spending on things like travel, and then retail and restaurants, they're not spending on because they want to spend it on things like travel. This is what the most recent, I think I read that last week in the
Mm.
news. So I haven't seen a lot of people reacting to that. I've been having conversations with members around like not being scared to, increase some prices on some of your key pieces, doing a relook at your margins, like making sure they're actually working for you, your numbers work, like things like that, finding ways to, increase the AOV, like old school ideas like bundles and things like that. So people are, I think, aware and thinking that way, but I haven't seen anything major like that's a great idea yet.
Yeah. The one thing that I see that seems to be more important than ever is having a very tight niche. It seems to
Mm,
really help.
mm,
Like, if you're selling to a very specific group of people where someone who's not in that arena has zero interest in it, to go
right.
that hardcore with your niche, like
Which scares them so much to do.
it scares me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but if I do that, I'll never have enough customers.
Right.
But to me, the brands and the clients that I work with, it's all over the place. And usually the ones that are doing well, they have a very strong mission. They're serving a real need in a group. It's not just like another cute dress.
Right.
Or they have a group of raving fans. Like,
Mm,
for instance, my side business that I have with a partner is native plants.
mm.
And if some people are native gardeners and they only want plants native to the area, they are not joking around. Like they are
Mhm.
hardcore.
My sister-in-law is like that, and nothing goes in her garden that isn't,
Oh.
yeah. And it was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like bringing Legos to a plastic-free house. Like, no,
Right.
no, no.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing when we try to say, well, we'll have native plants and you can have some like petunias up in there, that's not going to work very well.
Right. Right.
I mean, maybe it is because you can get the starter ones into it, but like people who are willing to seriously niche and be afraid to turn a lot of people off,
Yeah.
it's working.
Yeah. That's good to hear.
I don't know. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Um, what are some things? Is there anything that you see in manufacturing that's changing? I see a couple things, and I don't know if it's just my anecdotal like stuff, but I used to hear a lot of people saying, well, that doesn't align with my values. Like
Mm.
any producing overseas of any kind, that doesn't align
That's
with,
what I was going to talk about.
yeah, it's like that's
Yeah.
all like I'm like, there's a lot of places that would align with your values if you didn't just say that doesn't align with your values until you looked
Yeah.
into it.
And
So
I,
tell
and
me
I
about,
think that's something that's been changing. I think
okay.
I've
Yeah, me
seen
too.
more of them being more independent brands being open to producing overseas, understanding that it doesn't have to be done unethically. It's like it can be done, and it's available to you. You just have to, find it and understand the dynamics of international production versus domestic production. But I would say that was a big one for me in terms of production, seeing that shift where people are starting to open up and realize like, okay, this is good. And I think also another one in that is similar, which has to do with like sustainability and ethical production stuff is the understanding that you don't have to do all of it right away,
Mhm.
100%. You know, a few years ago, my sustainable brands, which I think is really important to think about sustainability as you are, launching a fashion business nowadays. But they were like, I need every last thread has to be everything, but like the list. And I'm like watching them make this list of every single aspect of this, production chain needing to be a certain way. And I'm like, you need to take a big breath because one, that's going to cost you a fortune. And two, it's going to be really difficult. And you're like, you like pick a place to start. You can always add in as you go, but if you try to make everything quote unquote perfect, you're never going to get it off the ground because you're just going to keep hitting these walls. And so I've seen a big shift from that, this acceptance, like, okay, I'm still thinking about sustainability. I'm still doing sustainable practices within the business. Maybe I'm starting with the type of fabric, but I'm not like getting all bent out of shape about the thread, or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And understanding that as long as you're open about that and you don't claim things that aren't true, it's okay to start somewhere and have goals in the future of like milestones you want to hit in your sustainability journey. And I've seen that
Yeah.
more and more accepted because years ago, when I would tell them that, they'd be like, no, no, no. Like,
I
okay.
agree. I agree. I think like just back to what you said towards the beginning, which was just maybe a little bit of simplification, a little bit of like wanting to do this with more ease.
Yes.
And that
Mhm.
is so freaking refreshing.
Right? Yep. And don't you find yourself, even when you say it like this, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's how I want you to feel. You're like this. Like this is, I want our communities to have more moments of like this than like this. And I think if you can like find some ways to simplify, then you will have more of those moments. And
And I think
yeah.
what would help, like I met with a woman yesterday and she's very usually really pretty chill, even though
Mhm.
she's got 3 kids and a full-time job and she's starting this clothing line, small collection.
Mhm.
Her hair is on fire
Mhm.
because things were not coming fast enough and the pattern was wrong and the woman's out of town and this is taking forever, right? Which is a real stressor. It is. I get
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And by the end of the call, she's like, "Oh, so it's just always going to be kind of fucked up like this with manufacturing?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yes.
And she's like, "Okay, I just thought my people were hot messes." Like just having
No,
the
right.
knowledge of like manufacturing is always a hot mess, babe. Like,
Right. Welcome to the party. Like this is what it is.
yeah, it's like
Yes.
anything you
Yes.
put that schedule on it, it becomes not fun anymore, right?
Right.
Like,
Right. And like I don't mean to like I don't want to make anybody like I understand that there are certain financial things you need to hit. Like you're trying to start a business or you're trying to run a business. For some people, they're running businesses and it's like a source of income. Like I get that. There are bills to be paid. I do get it.
yeah,
But I do think that there is a balance in the like the moments of feeling so much like just like the anxiety around it and that and realizing okay there are certain things that are out of my control, right? Like you can control
yes,
some things, you can't control others, and you have to be okay with that part that you can't control. You have to just accept that and do what you can and keep moving forward.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Tell me about so one last manufacturing question. When people are like, well, these have to be in by this date because it's so seasonal. This is my spring summer collection, or this is my fall. How do you feel about those types of fashion industry calendar things?
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I'm a big fan
It's
of
awful. Yes. It's a nightmare.
of like just I don't know. Like I'm not saying that you have to design necessarily in a way that is seasonless. I mean, that would be great, but
Mhm.
I understand that that doesn't make sense for everyone. I think if you have something like swimsuits, yeah, I get it. You're trying to get it out, and that can be very anxiety ridden if you're not hitting certain milestones. I think that's discussions that you need to have about timing with your production team and all that. I do think though that you can also be, if that's not the case, if you're not like making swimsuits, there's some opportunity and like freedom in your marketing to have fun with things and show them off in ways that aren't seasonal. So even if it's a linen shirt and if it arrives later than you thought it was going to arrive, layering that under something or over something and styling it in a way that shows people, because I think this is how people dress. I don't
Yeah.
put like all of my, I put like some things away seasonally, but very few, because it's like, oh, well, I'll still wear this blouse, even though it's like a thin cotton with holes in it in June. I would still wear that in November. I would probably just have like a long sleeve underneath, and I would wear it with boots and jeans and like rather than flip-flops. So I
Yeah.
think this is how people have started thinking. So I think also taking, like, if you want to take a big breath around this stuff, remind yourself that, okay, even if things are not meeting the exact calendars, I still have an opportunity to sell it. I don't know how it's going with like stores and stuff, how much flexibility. I know the big ones are still like right
Yeah.
here, but I think boutiques are a little bit more flexible, or no, Jane?
I don't know. I think if you're selling wholesale, you gotta stick to those dates because they do.
Yeah,
They do.
okay. It's still a bit, yeah.
I mean, it would depend on the buyer, all the things, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's still pretty old school. I mean, people are still
Yeah.
faxing orders, girl.
What?
A
What?
little, a
Stop
little,
it.
a
Oh,
little. Yeah, a little. Not much, not much, but like
okay.
the yeah, a little, a little.
Mm,
Okay,
yeah.
maybe not faxing orders, but I where they were during the pandemic still. I don't know.
Wow.
Okay, so in the next couple of years, is there anything that you could say? So the SEO is changing. So if somebody's, let's say a brand like a capsule collection, they have 6 pieces, right?
Mhm.
And they want to style it and show lots of different things and how to wear it. Would you not recommend a blog anymore? Would you say do the blog with the video and cut it up 16 times, repurpose it everywhere? What are you saying about that? And
Yeah.
especially
I
now knowing that your partner is in SEO.
Yeah, so I'm not saying stop the blog by any means, and I'm not saying that everyone should like move over immediately to Substack or anything like that. I think that it's like an individual situation on where exactly. I will say, here's how I would say. Up until this year or these recent changes in SEO, I was always 100% like, don't you dare build a community on a platform that you don't own, right? Which
Yeah,
meant your
yeah.
blog. And there's a part of me that still believes in that, like, okay, you still want to have something somewhere. But I think with what is happening now with SEO, I mean, essentially, people Google anything, all the information that we're creating is being served right up on the search page. People don't have to click through to websites anymore. So it's like in time, that's going to really start impacting things like website traffic. So you have to think about that. So my thought
But
is
that's
just,
assuming people actually assume the AI answer at the top, which I do not assume is correct at all. Not at this point.
okay, but in the next 2 years, you may, like, things are
I
changing, right?
I may. I
You
may.
know, like
Right now I
right
look at them
now.
like, okay, whatever. And then I go look for a real source.
Right, right.
But
But I think that is because this is all very new. And
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it gives dumb answers sometimes, but ultimately the direction we're going is that that's not going to be the case, right? And
yeah.
so I don't want this to sound like doom and gloom or anything. So I would, to to your question, I would absolutely still recommend putting things on a blog, because you can still drive your people there to like experience it and all of that. But I would also think about, I would just, I won't say I would think about being on another platform too, but I guess I would just make sure that part of what you're doing in your business is staying aware of these changes
Mhm.
and then pivoting if you need to, or adding or whatever. Like, don't put your head in the sand about this stuff because it's too techy and you don't want to know, because it will impact your
Oh,
business in the next two
so
years. Okay.
true.
Yeah.
So true. Even I'm like, I don't know. I don't believe it. Like,
Yeah.
well, guess what? You're gonna believe it pretty quick, girl.
Right. Exactly.
It's gonna get better. It's only
Exactly.
getting better. It's not
Yeah.
gonna get worse, you know?
Right. Right. Exactly. And I think ultimately, though, it's the kind of thing where I think that independent fashion brands, they can just continue doing what they've been doing in a lot of ways. The things they're good at, like remaining lean and like making sure their numbers work and like being, adding that personal touch to the marketing and educating themselves on a regular basis. Like, keep doing those things, and you're like, you'll have a leg up. Like, it's okay. Like, don't, this isn't a bad thing. It's just keep doing those things and be aware of what's going on, and
Yeah.
just don't let anything pull you from your mission and your goal, and you'll be fine. So it's
And what
okay.
if they don't know their mission and their goal?
Well, isn't
Something
there
you help them through? Or does
Yeah, I
everybody
mean,
kind of know, like, this is basically what I want to do? They know.
yeah. I mean, basically, when a lot of our members come to us, I know I want to build a business around fashion. Most of them have like some sketches or idea of what they want that to be. In terms of helping them, like, we do help them figure out, like, okay, well, what is the reason why you're doing all of this? And I don't mean the like Simon Sinek why necessarily, like, that's important, but ultimately, like, all right, like, what is this going to bring to your life? Like, what's your goal here? Like, what do you see this being? What's your vision for it? So we help them like work through that, because often they don't have that
Hmm.
uh put together. But and I don't believe in like goals for like a decade out or anything like that. It To me, I think, and everybody's different. Some people are like, I want a 10-year plan, and that's fine.
Wow.
I'm much more of a fan.
I'd like a
I
plan
don't
for
know what I'm
next
doing
week.
tomorrow.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly. But I'm much more a believer in like, okay, you have this idea. What is the next 6 months going to look for you like for you? What are you going to focus your time on? What would you like to have finished by that point? Okay, and then let's keep moving forward. So I kind of look at it like that.
Yeah, I like it. I like the way you work. All right. So tell us, for anybody who's interested and wants to be part of the community, and I'm assuming, like, I know you, when you started, it was always about community. So I'm assuming in the Substack, they really can get to know each other a little bit in the comments and things. Okay.
Yes. We have private members threads, so there's discussion that goes on in there. So it's startupfashion.substack.com.
Okay. Got it. Startupfashion.substack.com.
Yeah.
You heard it here. I want to also applaud for any of you who are like, I'm a little tired of this. I'm tired of the way this is going. Let's just look at Nicole as an example of taking something that has really good bones and reinventing it so it's way more fun and modern, honestly. Like, that
Yeah.
takes balls what you're doing. Like, if I was all of a sudden gonna be like, nope, not using my site anymore, just gonna go, that's scary, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But something had to change. I
Yeah.
knew that. So if you feel that way, if anyone listening feels that way, that's okay. Something can change. So take a
Yeah.
minute to reflect on how you're feeling and what might help that feeling change into something that you actually want to feel, right? Like what changes do you need to make?
Do you
Yeah.
find that it becomes like, it's almost like I have no choice? Like, this is like, I have to do something. So, like, it's not like, should I, shouldn't I? You just reach a point where the answer is obvious. Does that happen to
Yeah,
you?
I mean, yeah, because Jane, I mean, I was ready to close it down. I was ready to be like, forget, like, never mind. I think I'm done. I'm wrapping up this part of my life. Like, I was just ready. And then I was like, okay, hang on. Right? Because there's so much about it that I love and I don't want to
Mm.
lose. And we have hundreds of members who are depending on me to help them. Like, I
Oh,
wasn't.
they love you. And they
Thank you.
do. I mean, and they should. Yeah.
Thank you. So, but it was like something in me was just like, 15 years of the same business, something needs to change. And I've changed, right? We change, we evolve as humans. And so, like, to your exact statement, like, how do I make this fun again?
Yeah. Yeah. How do I make this fun again? Because no amount of money is going to keep you in a business that you hate.
Exactly.
Ask me how I know.
Exactly.
That's why I sold my first business. I loved
Right.
it and then I hated it. I mean, I was like done. I was like this.
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of factors, but one of them was I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Time for something new.
Mhm.
All right. So exciting. Startupfashion.substack.com. No,
Yes.
is that right?
I don't know. Let me check that. Yeah,
But I was
startupfashion.substack.com.
I
I was
started
like,
writing it startup fast.
and then
I'll put it in the show notes. How about that?
yes,
All right.
startupfashion.substack.com. Okay.
And I will also, I'll put this video up on my blog, at least while I have a blog. Now I'm kind of inspired.
Nicole said to shut down all the
I'm
blogs.
not gonna lie. I'm just gonna, who knows, right? And I'm just gonna be only TikTok from now on. No, no. First, I'd have to be on TikTok. Okay.
Right.
Nicole, you are a pleasure. Your vision is kind, thoughtful, smart, organized. I hear from the people that we have in common, they love your worksheets. I'm a little jealous about that. They love your worksheets. You guys, she can really break things down into steps for people. So go check it out and check out Substack because it is awesome. It really
Yeah,
is. And it's
it is.
less noise when you want to learn something. And it
Yes.
almost feels like the people on there are, this is going to sound weird, but almost more sincere or more
Oh,
serious. Yeah,
absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.